I'm gonna walk you through the RAYA Crafts Pattern Designer and to show you guys how easy to use it to make your first blanket. I'm going to cover pretty much most of things in general, whether you want to just start from scratch and draw out your own design on the pattern grid, or if you want to grab one of the preset templates from the library, change up the colors, edit it a bit, and completely make it your own. It's super easy to use, so let's just dive right into it. So first things first, you gotta go to the Sizes page to set up your project settings. You have two choices here. If you're using the actual RAYA Loom, you honestly don't have to do much here because all the measurements are already baked into the app. You just turn this toggle on, and then you set how many bricks you're using for your setup. The cool thing is, as you click and increase the number of bricks, you'll see these different blanket size presets pop up to help you figure out what size you're working with. Then, you just choose if you're using the narrow spacing side or the wide spacing side of the loom. That tells the app how many pegs you'll have total, and remember, each peg is basically a single loop of your yarn. So you can pick one of the preset sizes here, or just type in your own custom height. Let's say 40 inches height. Down here, it shows you the off-loom expected size. This is super helpful because it shows you an example of what happens when you take the blanket off the loom. If you use the narrow spacing, it shrinks a little bit to this size right here. If you use wide spacing, it's gonna shrink even smaller, but you will use less yarn for it. Now, if you aren't using the loom and you just want to do freeform and weave with your hands, you just turn this toggle on instead. That's gonna shut off the loom settings. For this, you do have to do a tiny bit of extra work just to get the right math. You'll need to weave a quick, small test square. Just make sure the square has more than 6 rows and 6 columns so you have enough space to measure. Then, take a ruler or measuring tape and measure how wide and how tall those 6 loops are in inches. So, if your 6 loops measured 9 inches wide, you just type 9 right here. And if the height was 5 inches, you put 5 here. Same thing as before, you can pick a preset size to help you decide, like a medium blanket, and it'll tell you that you need about 27 loops for your width. And also, there's this toggle here for a braided edge. If you're starting and ending your blanket with a braid, definitely turn this on. It'll automatically calculate and add extra yarn for those colors you use in the very first and very last rows so you don't run short. Once you're done with the sizes, you're going to head over to the colors page. This is where you add colors based on what yarn you already have at home or what you plan on buying. You can just pick from these default colors, or you have the RAYA Crafts solid colors, or you can use the multicolors and choose something like this multicolor fall. You can add as many as you want. Or, if you're trying to match a specific yarn, you can just use this custom color picker tool here and literally create whatever shade you need. And don't worry if you don't have every single color perfect right now, because you can always add more while you're actually working on your design. Alright, next part is the pattern grid editor. As you can see, all the colors you picked are right here above the grid as a handy shortcut, so you don't have to keep flipping back to the other page to change colors. Up here on the toolbar, you have a few essential buttons. This first one locks the grid so you don't accidentally mess anything up once you're done. Then you have your normal undo and redo buttons. This button right here will actually show the loop numbers right on top of the pattern, which is awesome for tracking your stitches. This button gives you a bird's eye view of the whole design at a glance, and then you have your standard zoom in and zoom out buttons if you need to focus on a specific corner. Here is your save button for saving your progress. It will flash red if there is any unsaved changes in the pattern grid, which we'll look at in a second. Over here on the left side, you've got tracing tools. If you want to use an image to start off, you can upload it here to use as an onion skin to trace over, or you can try to scan it to let the app match the colors. Just keep in mind, if the image is super complicated, it might be a little tricky for it to scan perfectly. You can also use the text tool to type something out, scan it, or trace over it. Then you have the hand tool, which literally just lets you click and pan around the grid without accidentally drawing over your work. The pencil tool is perfect for coloring individual cells one by one. The brush tool is what you want if you just want to draw lines completely freely. And then the eraser just deletes whatever you click on. Now let me show you how to color a whole row, column, or even the entire grid in like 2 clicks, because doing it cell by cell takes forever. If you click on the very first cell of any column or row, it applies that color to the whole thing. You can even click and drag across multiple columns at once to color a huge chunk. But check this out. If you turn on this toggle that says Preserve Existing Color, it'll keep whatever you've already drawn and only apply the new color to the empty cells. You can do that for rows, columns, or the whole grid by clicking this upper left corner icon to swap colors. It shows you a list of every color currently being used in your grid. So if you want to swap one specific color for a completely different one, or just delete it entirely from the whole project, you can do it right here. Also, you can do the exact same color swapping on individual rows or columns too, just by clicking that first cell. And here's a really cool tip if you plan on tracking everything on your device while you actually weave your blanket. You can use this highlight row icon right here to keep track of your progress in real time. It highlights the exact row you're working on so you don't lose your place. Then, once you finish weaving that row, you just click the icon to mark it as done, then highlight the next one. It makes following the pattern so much easier. Now, if you don't want to draw something from scratch, you can go into the library and look at all the preset patterns they have. You can click through them to see what you like. Once you find one, just hit apply and it'll load it onto the grid editor and automatically calculate it based on your size settings. If you change your mind later and adjust your blanket size, just remember to jump back into the library and hit apply again so the app can recalculate the pattern math for your new size. If you want to tweak the colors of the template, you can just do that using that top left corner icon we talked about, or you can even do it on the export page. Once you are totally done with your design, head over to the export page. You can give your project a name here. Down here, it gives you all the final details for your pattern, your total blanket size, the settings you used, and the total number of loops in the whole blanket. Then you have your yarn summary. This is amazing because it breaks down every color you used and tells you exactly how many estimated skeins of yarn you need to buy for each color. And if you change your mind about a color, here you can actually swap it right on this page, and it will automatically update back on your design grid. Before you finish up, you can review your pattern. Also, you can hide the numbers just to get a clean look at how the blanket is actually gonna look. When you're ready to print or save it as a PDF, just choose whether you like to weave from the bottom up versus from top to bottom. Also, make sure your pattern preview page that we just reviewed is included, so turn this option on and hit print. Or download the whole thing as PDF. The last thing you want to do is make sure you click Save Pattern. Keep the name you have or change the title and save it to My Patterns. Whenever you want to find it again, just click this upper left sidebar menu, open it up, and go to My Patterns. Click on your project, and it has all your info saved right there. Your settings, blanket size, if you used a braided edge, and all your colors. Honestly, it's super easy to create your own custom blanket pattern with this app.